welcome back to Untamed and Unapologetic. I am Jeanette Lira, and today we have an amazing guest for you. I am going to celebrate right now because Reuben, you are my first male guest.
What? All right.
Yes, I hope I get more after this. I would love
Yes.
to hear the perspective from a male coming from a female because our brains work so differently.
Yes.
And just I'm excited. I'm excited. But Reuben, tell everybody who you are and how you and I have a connection.
Yes. So, Reuben Escobedo, during the day, I'm a retirement plan manager. I oversee a pooled employer plan, and I volunteer with the National Alliance of Mental Illness to help spread education on mental health and those who suffer and those who have families that live with somebody that suffers. And Jeanette and I actually met through a mutual connection of ours, Sinclair, who has his own services that he does for mental health and in the workplace. And he threw this kind of gathering where all these like minded people could get together and just share their ideas and share their experiences. And that's where Jeanette and I first connected and got to meet her, understand what she was doing and what she was working on. And from back then to where she's at now is a huge difference. Like, it's amazing. I was able to follow her journey on Facebook and see what she was doing with her companies and her own self and how she's helping others. And she has this little thing called off the couch, right? Is that
Yeah, I started
right?
it last on just a
Right.
whim. Why not start something new?
Yeah, and it was and I saw it and I was like, "Well, what is this?" So I started looking into it and I thought, "Why not? Why not go check it out?" I had a great experience chatting with her the first time. I love what she's doing here. Let's go. So then I reconnected with her again at one of her sessions, and that's how we've kept up with each other.
Yeah, yeah. I love how San Antonio is so big, but also so small. Everywhere you go, if you're friendly at all, like you meet so many people. Like, I don't even
Yes.
know where I met Sinclair the first time. It might have been just on LinkedIn.
Oh, wow. I met
Yeah.
I met him there the first time. We actually have a mutual connection named Mandy Smith, and I was working
Oh,
with Mandy on one of her projects, and
uh-huh.
Sinclair was a part of it, and that's how I got introduced to him. When I saw his, little group session he was doing, I went to that, got to meet him, and, get
Yeah.
to know him a little bit more and hear his story.
Yeah, he's got a great story.
He
And
does.
think enough of us tell our stories, right? A lot of times, I mean, I was taught to not speak and stay quiet. Nobody needs to know that about you. Like,
Yes.
don't post too much. And my parents still today tell me, Mija, put some clothes on that post. Like, what's going on here? And so,
And that's something you've worked for too. I've learned in working with you, that was part of your journey was developing yourself and working out. And I'm not doing no cold plunge, but I think that the the other stuff I've seen you do is like, that's awesome that you're doing that. So that was like to me an achievement that you made. It wasn't showing off, it was showing that your work was actually changing your body the way you wanted it to.
well, a lot of times what I've seen is that whenever we're let go of the fear, right? So many of us are like our growth gets stopped by fear. And once you let
Yeah.
go of that fear, we tend to literally transform not only in our mindset, but in our bodies, in the way we present ourselves, in the way we communicate. And I'm mind blown on myself on how I can speak and actually sound smart sometimes because I never used to think I could. So,
But it was that fear. It was that fear, like, I don't wanna it's the unknown, and we're
mhm.
so afraid of that, that we stay where we're at. We stay in that comfort zone, and that goes into your mental health, that goes to any type of whether it's an abusive relationship or even trauma that we've experienced. A lot of times, we're so used to that, and we feel so safe there because we know how to navigate it, that we won't look outside of it. And that's, one of the things that I'm hoping as I talk to people and as I educate, show you that it's okay to look behind the curtain. It's okay. It's not a monster. It's something that can be managed, and there could be something great behind that curtain that's there for you.
Yeah, I always say that comfort is where dreams go to die.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And just to confirm, this is a Celsius energy drink. I don't want anybody thinking I'm drinking like, "Oh,
Hey,
he's already drinking."
this is untamed and unapologetic, Ruben. So
That's right. I'm
their
drinking
own.
Celsius. Yeah, I love coffee. I love coffee.
I started drinking this 8 a.m. this morning and I realized I wasn't done, so I heated it back up.
I've done that many a times. Stay too caught up in the day, and then you're like, "I poured this. I know I wanted it at some point. Let me just reheat it." I've done that and still do it very much, very often.
Exactly. Well, Ruben, tell us a little story about you. Tell us your story. When was it when you hit the wall or the curtain lifted or however you want to call it, right? That moment when you knew something had to change, where you weren't living the life that you really wanted to live. Tell us that story.
Yeah, so the climax happened at the end of 2024. And what had happened is I had planned to take my own life. I had thought it out. I
Mm,
knew the way that I wanted to do it. I was waiting for that final straw to kind of put me over the edge. And what ended up happening was I was traveling for work and I was away from my house and I came back from a conference event. And as I walked in the hotel room, I went, "Oh, this would be the perfect place because if I do it here, my family doesn't have to clean it up. My family doesn't have to see it." And it was all making too much sense to me. And in that moment, I thought, my therapist allows me to text her. Let me just message her. And maybe what I'm thinking and feeling isn't right because right now it feels very right. It feels like I'm on path with what I'm supposed to do. So I texted
yeah.
her and she said, "Let's set up a session." And we did a virtual session very quickly. And as I talked to her, I started realizing that there was so much that had built up to that moment. It wasn't something that just happened overnight.
Mm-mm.
So the catalyst that first started this off was 2 years before that when my mother in law passed away unexpectedly from cancer, melanoma. And that was the first time I had experienced true loss. I've lost grandparents, I've lost, aunts and uncles, but she was a mother figure to me since I was 16 years old. And when I lost her, I lost my mom and I felt so lost. It was so crazy because I never thought I had that connection, so to speak, with her. But I remember being in the hospital and I remember breaking down a little, but also not too much because you're also taught don't show your emotions. Not everybody needs to know your business. So you're holding back so much already. And as we went through that process of going through the funeral and then final services, and then they had asked my father in law to ask me to deliver her service. And that was, I knew I could deliver a service. I was like, well, I know I can speak, I know I can do this, but I just shoved everything down and just delivered a great service for her. But I never dealt with what was inside of me and
Like
started,
you told
I'm sorry.
yourself you told yourself you had to be strong.
Yes. Oh, 100. Just my wife, I gotta be strong for my wife, I gotta be strong for my kids, I gotta be strong for my father-in-law, my family members here, and it's funny because I don't look at myself as a leader in the family, but I look back now and see that others saw me that way, and I was kind of thrusted into that, position, and without wanting to let anybody down or make anybody else feel the stress, I stepped into the role. And it wasn't a bad thing to do, but I still needed to deal with my loss and what had happened there. So as time is progressing, I'm also starting to experience strain at work. I'm starting to experience stress from my boss. I'm starting to feel targeted at work at times too, that even though I'm doing a good job, it's almost like, how can we trip him up? How can we mess up his good record. And I would even go to this was my boss's boss, my direct boss I had a great relationship with. We were like two peas in a pod. We knew each other so well. But the person that made the decision on whether I got promoted or moved up was very different. And that day in and day out stress and depression that I'm dealing with because I know I'm going to a job where I'm not going to advance or move forward. So that's starting to play in. My team that I managed, there was a few of them that had some very toxic traits in there, and I'm dealing with that on a daily basis and trying to manage that. So as I start evaluating this, what happens is you start internalizing so much of it and saying, "I'm not achieving anything because I'm a failure. It's me that's the problem. And it's my fault my boss doesn't see me in this light. It's my fault that my team is toxic. It's my fault that my family's hurting from this loss." And all of this starts building. And the first thing I noticed now that I look back on it was I started withdrawing, started slowly coming back, and I started getting quiet, and I started not wanting to be myself, what was myself, which was this smiley, happy person and love to interact. And I was pulling away from that. And it happened so incrementally that I didn't think it was an issue. I just thought, "Oh, I'm just tired. I just need a rest a
Can
little
I
bit."
ask you something?
Yeah.
In that moment, because I know a lot of us, we go through grief and loss, and we have these belief systems in our head that kind of reemerge and tell us those things, right? Like, nobody needs you, you're not good enough, you're never going to advance, you can't do anything right. Like, all these things can come into a person's mind. But in that moment, when you started to start withdrawing yourself from people, what was going on in here?
Everything that was going on was, I don't wanna mess up, so I don't wanna be a part of that. I don't
Mm.
I don't wanna potentially hurt anybody. I don't wanna I'm thinking that I'm protecting everybody else from me in that moment.
It's a feeling.
Yeah, it's very much this, well, I don't want them to worry about me, so I'm gonna back off a little bit because I don't want them to ask questions. I don't want them, and you start it goes in that mentality, don't let anybody know you're hurting. Don't let anybody know that you're feeling anything. You should be handling this yourself. And I remember that growing up, I would hear the phrase, "God only gives you what you can handle." And I was like, "Well, why's God gotta keep testing me?" Like, why is it haven't I been through enough? And you start thinking that it's almost against you. Like, why is this keep piling on me? Why does it keep coming to me? Haven't I proven myself already? You start creating a lot of self-doubt, a lot of
Mhm.
self-doubt. And when I pulled away from my family, my wife, my kids, it was just, dad's not the same. Dad's a little different. And even my wife was like, "What's going on with you? You're a little bit more moody. You're a little bit more sensitive." And it was mainly to push them away so that they wouldn't ask questions, so that I could protect them from what I was feeling. When in fact, I really should have been saying, "I need help. I'm lost. I'm scared."
Mm.
And I think one of the things is we build these relationships and we're always telling our friends that we're there for them. We're always going to be there to support them. Our family, we tell them that. But we never want that to be us. We don't want to be the ones asking for help. We want to be the ones that can provide it, but not ask for it. And I find that many of us that struggle with whether it's mental health issues or trauma or just issues in the family, a lot of times that's our coping mechanism. If we're helping others, then we don't
We're
need to be helped. Yeah, we're okay. And so little by little, just drawing back, people are starting to notice now. Like I had people come up to me and say, "Are you okay? Is everything okay?" Well, yeah, I'm just tired. A lot going on, work's busy, and it just turned into something else at that point. Because for as I started withdrawing, then
mm,
came something I had never experienced before, which was true depression. I always heard, "I can't get out of bed. I just don't have the ability to smile or be cheery." And I thought, no, you can do things you love. But I found that things that I loved were not bringing joy at all.
mm,
It was finally experiencing what depression was in real life.
yeah.
And I start pulling back even more, and I just don't wanna do anything. I don't wanna get up. I have no energy. And one of the things that was funny that even my wife noticed was when I was posting on TikTok these silly parody songs, and they were getting a bunch of views and people were laughing, but I stopped writing and I wasn't
Mm,
posting anymore. And I wasn't even interacting with that. The creative juices just weren't there anymore.
mm.
Everything was going into just keeping me quiet and silent inside, that I stopped being who I was and creating and having fun with things. So as this continues to build and as I'm pulling back, the depression led to something else, which was pain. And I never knew that your body could feel pain without being in pain,
Yeah.
like breaking a leg or an arm. It was this true pain that I felt in my chest. Even talking to you right now, I can feel it. I can feel it because I'm
Ooh.
reliving. Yeah, because I'm reliving some of this as I'm talking about it. I could feel this pain in my chest, and I feel my chest get tighter, and I couldn't make it go away. Ibuprofen didn't make it go away. I was on some medication, but I wasn't on the right cocktail yet, so to speak. I was on kind of some things that were balancing some out, but we were still working through that with my therapist and my psychiatrist. So as I'm doing this and going through this, I'm also being unbalanced because we haven't found the right medicine yet. So I'm having to work through that as well. And then finally the pain became too much. It was too much. And it wasn't that I was better off dead. It was, I want to be dead because I'm in so much pain. I don't want to feel this anymore.
You don't wanna do it anymore. It's
Yeah.
exhausting.
It's exhausting, it hurts, I can't do this. And then me in the financial world, one of the things that kicked in that I didn't anticipate was the number factor, which was your insurance is worth more than you now. Your retirement's worth more than you now. Your family will
Mm,
be taken care of. I started rationalizing my own demise and
yeah.
balancing your family's taken care of if you do this. So it's okay if you do this. That's where everything
That's
started making, yeah, it
yeah.
started making more sense. And if it wasn't for that one little moment of clarity in my mind where I said, let me text my therapist, I
Wow.
don't know that I would be here right now,
I
or
know.
have at least attempted it and then recovering, because that's really what was the turning point. The turning point was just me saying, maybe this isn't right. And if it isn't,
Let me find out first.
yeah, let me find out first. And then from that point, once I did mention it, then that's where I started opening up. My therapist knew the questions to ask. Thankfully, she's a wonderful therapist. She had worked with me before, so
I need to give her a shout out because I think a lot of us therapists, honestly, I don't think they are aware of what great work that we do. And
oh,
a lot of us forget just to be just like we forget and we get burned out and we don't
yeah,
realize big impacts we make on clients' lives. I mean, that your therapist saved you.
she did. She 100% saved me because I was there. I was at that point. And the the funny part was when I talked to her, I said, "Okay, if you're gonna really do this, then you need to tell her what your plan was." And I said, "Okay." So I sat down and I said, "I know somebody who has access to a gun, and I know how to get that gun." And that was the first method. And then the second option was I was doing plasma donations, and I knew where the vein was, so
Mm,
that I had a main flow of blood, and I knew how to access that very easily without having to cut very much. And I said, and I can set a warm bathtub and I can slowly fall asleep. And telling her that, I didn't realize how much of a relief that would be. And even as I say it now, I can feel my chest getting lighter. And I
mhm.
admitted to myself, okay, this was the plan. This is what you were going to do. And part of you feels like a failure for that because you had even gone to that extent of planning it out, knowing how to do it. We're right there. And then
You
you
didn't
you
pull.
didn't pull, and it's like, oh, you're a failure in here too. You couldn't even follow through with this. But as I talked to her, and as we first of all recognized that what I was feeling was real, the pain
Mhm.
I was feeling was real, the
Very real.
depression I was feeling was real, I was validated in my emotions. And that was uplifting because then you realize, okay, it really isn't just me. It's not that at all. There's more to this. So as I'm talking to her, she asked for my prescription list. We went through my prescription list. She made some suggestions. I went to my psychiatrist. We made some adjustments, and it's taken some time, but
Mm,
I can tell you every time we made an attempt, it got better and it got better. And now I'm at a spot where things feel very balanced. Things feel
yeah.
good, even when things get tough, because I still get anxiety and I still get excited about things. I'm
Yeah.
able to talk to myself with the coping mechanisms that she has taught me, and I'm sure you teach uh, your people that you talk to. And I can say it's okay. I know that is scary. That's very scary. We don't have to answer those questions now. Right now, we have to balance this, and this is manageable. And as I do that, I can calm myself down and feel better. So going through all this, you could say it was just one thing. And now, before I even started with her therapy, I you got diagnosed, and I was diagnosed with anxiety, severe depression, ADHD, and PTSD. So I had some trauma from my past, but I had thought I had already dealt with that through the therapy I was going through. But I
So we
never
all
talked. Yeah, but I
walk.
never talked about some of those things or all of those things, and all of that was still in that mix with the
Mhm.
loss I was feeling from my mother, and the struggle I was feeling with my own family. One of the things that even helped kind of push me towards that was I don't have a great relation, or I have no relationship with my biological father.
Mm,
My relationship with my mother is very strained, and she suffers from her own stuff, and I know that. So there's more grace that I give her because I know her struggle. But I was talking to my therapist, and I had said, why wasn't I worth fighting for? Why wasn't I worth making the attempt to love and to care for and to be that parent? Because I see the parent that I am to my kids. And she goes, Reuben, you keep saying, why are you? It's fair to
mm,
say that your parents are just sucky parents. They're just sucky parents. And it's okay to say that. And I
yeah.
thought, "Oh, we can't say that." And she goes, "No, you can. This
Disrespectful,
is
right?
right. Exactly. You gotta be respectful." She goes, "No, you're saying this is about you. This isn't about you." This is about
Yeah.
them. And once I recognized that it really was them and not me, and that it
Yeah.
wasn't about why wasn't I was enough. And I was worth being loved and I was worth being cared for. And I had so many people showing me that I was. But in that moment of depression and sadness, I couldn't feel it. I couldn't feel it.
No.
It was like being in a big plastic ball and all
Yeah.
this love is being thrown at you, but it just can't get you. You could see it, but you can't feel it. You can't get to it.
One thing I say when you bring up parents, because this happens, guys, you are not alone when he's talking about this. Like I've worked through this with so many people, but one thing that I remind them is that our parents only know what they know.
Yes.
They can only do what they know. And a lot of times we've all heard of generational trauma, right?
Yes.
Ruben, you were the one to break the cycle. You are the one that is the one that's giving your kids something that you never received yourself. And so the cycle broke with you. And a lot of times we don't see that.
No, we don't. We don't. And even as you say that, I go, no, no, it wasn't.
Yes.
But I've gotten better about saying, no, it was. And one of the things that I love in your session when we were in off the couch at the last session, and you were talking about recognition and promoting yourself. And a lot of us are scared to do that because we think we're egotistical or it's going to make me seem like I'm a know-it-all. And you said, no, you're acknowledging your work. You are
Mhm.
showing what you have put in and what you have done. And that really stuck with me. And it was a reinforcement of what my therapist had told me as well.
Mhm.
So when you say I broke the cycle, part of me goes, get a little cringy with it because I'm like, no, no. But at the same time, the other part of me goes, no, she's right. She's right. You did.
Well,
And you see that. And I'm very
look
proud of,
at the evidence, right? Look at all the evidence. There it
yeah.
points right to it. You even said it yourself that you wanted to be a different dad. You
Oh,
wanted to give children the love that you never had. And so it broke with you. And so
it,
now your children are going to be even better with their
yeah,
kids.
it's funny. My son the other day, we were going through baseball or football cards or something, and we're
Mhm.
just sitting there, we're just talking to each other, and we're just having a good time, enjoying each other's company. And my wife had told me, she goes, I was watching you all, and I just thought, look how good our kids are. Look how respectful our kids are. Look how amazing our kids are. And I thought that's because of us. They wouldn't know any different if it wasn't for us. We were the ones that instilled that in them. And it was a proud moment because, one of my sons, he is very affectionate like me. So him and
Mhm.
I hug each other every day. Every day when I see him, when I first get home or he wakes up, he hugs
I
me
love
and I
that.
love the hug. And my wife, opposites truly attract because my wife is not an affectionate person.
Well,
She is
I'm sure
not
he's learned to be because that's what you need from her.
okay.
Maybe in different areas. I got to talk to your wife.
Yeah, I think there are times, well, I'll tell you one thing because she actually sees the same therapist that I see, and we do
Oh,
joint
good.
sessions
Uh-huh.
because one of the things that we wanted to do was improve our communication because we knew where we were struggling as individuals. So we wanted to help each other see those struggles so we could work together better. And it's been amazing. It's been an amazing experience. So there are times where when I do need it, I can tell her I need a hug right now. And she'll say, okay, let me give him a hug. But Reese, my middle one, he's the one that just every day, I know when I walk through that door, he's going to hug me. And he's just that affectionate person. But as I go and I see my boys and I see the love they have for the life they have, when I see that they're playing on their games or they're having fun with their friends online, it doesn't have to be even with me, but just seeing that, I think you created that for them. You allowed them to have that. That's not what you had growing up. You gave them something you didn't have. It really is. It feels so much better to acknowledge that. And that helped in addition to that was part of the healing was actually recognizing what I had done and what I had achieved and what I had come to.
Yeah,
So
'cause for a moment there, you got lost in the fog, and
for
depression
years,
is so strong. I don't think people understand it enough, but once you get into that dark, like, forest and the fog and all the stuff is there, it is so hard to see what's really in front of you. Like,
yes,
you would think, right? Knowing that you raise these beautiful boys, that they would be enough, and they are, but the thing is that, like, you literally become blinded.
yes.
You don't see them.
Yeah, and my wife, so I did tell my wife eventually. That was very scary. That was
It's hard.
so hard. that was so hard to tell her that I was at that point. And one of the questions she asked me was, "We're not enough?" And I said, "Please listen to what I'm about to
Mhm.
say because I want you to understand."
Sure.
I said,
So much
"It's not that you're not enough because I love you all. I am just in so much pain that I can't take it anymore. It's
Mhm.
the pain." And I didn't want her to worry, but I wanted to tell her that I'm scared. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going to happen. But
Mhm.
as I opened up and said, "This is where I'm at. This is what's going," that actually is what started me down the path of healing. And eventually I got the right medicines. Eventually I got the right therapy and I found another job. And that was one of the biggest things because you're with a company, you may have heard this term before, golden handcuffs. They have all the great benefits, right? They got everything that's wonderful, and
Never leave.
yeah, you're like, "Oh, it's amazing. This is great. This is awesome." And people will stay there uncomfortable because of all of that. And I had a mentor that I would work with on the business side. Like I'd run ideas by them about my career development. And it just so happened that I probably applied for over 100 jobs, like just trying to find something else over the period. But I got a call from a recruiter, and the recruiter said, "Hey, we have this position. We think you'd be good for it." And I said, "Okay, well, why not?" So I look into the position. I do an interview.
Mhm.
I get asked to come back the next day for another interview. By Monday, I had an offer letter. It was like Thursday interview, Friday interview, offer letter Monday. It was so fast.
Isn't that crazy how when things are truly aligned in a positive direction, how they happen so quickly?
Yes, it's amazing. And then part of you goes, "Would I have seen that sooner? I probably would have seen that sooner had I not been in the fog." But it's okay. I needed to go through that. I needed to go through all of that. So I said, "Hey, this company's offering me this position. The benefits aren't as rich, but they're good benefits." And he was
Mhm.
like, "I think you found your answer. I think you found what you're looking for." And now I've been with this company now for a year, going on a year, and it was the best decision I made. It was one of the best decisions I ever made. I'm developing, I'm learning, I'm growing. It's everything I was looking for. And
Mm.
it finally, finally getting on that right path. And as I came out, that's where I saw the opportunity open up again, not only with my family, but with my career and then my own personal development, because that's where I started going back to the things that made me happy. And I said, you know what? I used to sing in high school, and after high school, I would love to sing again. And I auditioned for the Master Singers and I got in, and I was like, okay, now I'm performing with the Master Singers. And then I thought, you said I'm the first male on this
You
podcast.
are.
One of the things that I thought was, I wonder how many other guys are going through this and aren't talking about it. And I reached out to the city
Right.
of San Antonio. Yeah, I called the city of San Antonio. They had a health director, and I said, "Do you offer anything like this, or do you talk about this?" And he goes, "We don't have anything, but there's a group called NAMI, the National Alliance of Mental Illness, and they talk about it. You may want to reach out to them." And I reached out to them. I gave them my story, exactly like I'm doing to you right now. And they said, "We think you'd be a great asset to talk at events because we don't get a lot of guys that talk about this." And I said, "I would love to be a part of it." I've done these, they call it peer to peer discussions. So
Mhm.
I go to their classes. They offer classes. I go to the class and I give a peer perspective. What I'm training for now is another element of that called In Our Own Voice. And it's part
Mhm.
of the uh, education that NAMI offers, and they go talk to like the San Antonio Police Department. They go talk to corporations, and they educate on mental health issues, mental health in the workplace, mental health in the field, and help shed a light on it to help people better understand it. Because believe it or not, there are many others that believe that this is just something we can flip on and off. That if you just choose to be happy, you'll be happy. If you just choose to do this, you'll do this. It's like it's not a choice. It's not a
And
choice.
that's
And I've lived
worth
it. Let me
yeah.
explain it because it really isn't like that. So
Mhm.
the opportunity has opened up, and I feel so much better. I feel that I'm on the path I'm supposed to be right now, and I'm glad that I was able to have just that little moment, and that my therapist saw in that moment enough what she needed to do. Because the first thing I thought she was going to do was commit me. I was so scared of that. I thought, see,
That could
yeah,
make things worse, and it's not gonna help.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's lack of education, right? I didn't know the process, and I asked
Mhm.
her when we started having our sessions. I said, "If I say this, are you going to commit me?" And she goes, "Why are you going to hurt yourself right now?" I said, "No. Are you?" "Are you gonna hurt anyone else?" I said, "No." She goes, "As of now, there's nothing that's gonna make me think anything otherwise." And I said, "Okay." And that kind of helped drop my guard. And that's one of the things that I've been, as I talk about this and as I talk to others, I always let them know, don't be afraid to say it. I know that you're afraid that this is gonna happen, but that's not always the case.
Yeah.
Let's
Also,
talk about
I like how you asked her that question because there are a lot of new therapists that haven't done their own work. And when they haven't done their own work, they get scared when you say those things to them. And so those are the ones that will call the police. It's just
Yeah.
ask the right questions, right?
Yes.
And find the right therapist for you. Like you can ask them. Like I've tell mine. Like I've been through depression. I've been zombie girl. Like I had to go through all kinds of medication cocktails myself.
Yes.
With us, the ones that actually have the experience and started our journey to heal, we're not going to commit you.
Yeah, and that, let me tell
Mhm.
you, I think once you take that level off, it's amazing how much you start to open up because you start recognizing that you're not the only one that thinks that. You know that they've heard it from others. What you're going through is real. This isn't
Mm.
something just made up in your mind. And that's when all the guards start dropping. That's one of the things that I'm hoping that with the education I provide through NAMI, with the support I provide to them, that, if you can't afford a therapist, then there's a group here of people who are still willing to talk to you. And that's where it starts. Let's just have a conversation. Let's
Well,
yeah, let's start getting that out. And then of course I definitely want anybody to be able to go through therapy and find out what revenue they can go through to get that therapy they need. I know it can be costly, but what services are free or who offers good sessions or group sessions that are free, what are the means that are there? And that's one of the things that I like about NAMI is they help open that door to at least get you talking and starting to help you get some of this stuff off your chest so that you don't feel alone.
because a lot of people don't know. Yes, some of us are only private pay and our rates are very high, but a lot of us also take Medicaid, Medicare, insurances. There's tons of options out there. We even have an education program at Arabia that we bring in the interns from the graduate school and they get
Oh, wow.
hours. They get to help people and they get to start learning right away. So there's tons of help out there. It's just asking the right question.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And I think as we keep asking those questions, as we have people like you and myself that are out there advocating for this, the word will get out. The word will get out. And it is getting out. It's going to take time. This is something I think that has built up for so long over the years. Right now, it probably feels like we're just chipping little pebbles off this huge wall. But every pebble we chip off is another step closer we are to getting that wall down. And I want to be a part of that, and I want to help with that. Even though I look at something and I say, okay, yeah, we can't give free treatment to everybody. We can't, but can we give some treatment? And can we start touching some of those lives? And to me, one life is better than no life touched. So I'd rather take that effort and that step to help get the help out there to those who need it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know personally, I have had 3 male family members, including my brother, and a couple of male friends who have lost their lives due to mental health struggles. And so for some reason, I don't know if men are just more because of the more black and white thinking or whatever it might be, men typically will succeed more often than women. And because of that, and because of that large number, whatever you do, Ruben, to spread that word is just another life that can be saved.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you. The thinking is very different. I do know that. And I know everybody else has their own individual process, but I think
Oh,
we've grown up in a world where at a time it was thought of, the opposite sex can have emotions and can be upset and can cry and can be upset. And then the opposite sex here can't do
they
that. They're not supposed to do
no,
that.
they have
And
to be
when that
against the wall.
Yeah, and when that's reinforced generation over generation, and then you have your first generation here breaking that cycle and telling the sons, "No, you can't
Mhm.
cry. No, you can be upset. No, you can be mad. There's a way to do this." That's scary too because it's untouched ground. And on top of that, you're also battling the prior generation in that where you have your family saying, "Don't tell them that they can cry. Don't tell them that they can show their feelings. That needs to just stay inside them. They can deal with that." It's like, "No, no, 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 no. You don't understand. They can't deal with that. And neither could I. And each of us has our cup that is going to get filled up and that's going to overflow at some point, and that's our breaking point. And I realized that it wasn't that I was falling short of the challenge or falling short of what was in front of me. It was my cup was full for me and what I could handle, and it was overflowing, and I needed to take care of that. So I was glad that, I took those steps I did, because it feels very lonely in that first generation to take those steps. But as I find like-minded people like yourself and people that were at the group session for the Off the Couch and Sinclair, and you start realizing that there's more people out there like us that are going through this and talking about it. And as long as we keep talking about it, somebody's going to hear it. It's going to help someone. And we may not even see it. We may not even know it, but that's okay. It's getting the word out there. But
Mhm.
it's going to be a long journey. I know I'm not going to see the end result, but I want to be a part of it to some extent. So I
At
keep doing
least
my work.
strike the match and let's get it going because
Exactly.
if somebody doesn't do it, who will, right?
Exactly. Yes. One of the things is I've gotten to learn through your session and what you
Um,
do, promoting myself and just giving myself credit for the work I've done. And my wife even said the other day, she goes, "You realize the position you're in at your job now? Like, did you ever think about it?" And I was like, "No, because to me, I got to work. I got to keep working." And she goes, "You're in this title now. Remember what you started off as?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I kind of did. Yeah, that was big. Okay." And giving myself that credit, and that's helped me as well. And I'm glad that I have her for those moments, because sometimes we forget to acknowledge that, feel like we got somebody who's there that understands.
But this year the beginning of what happens when you go through unimaginable grief for the first time. Like there's so many different types of grief. Like you said, like you know what it was like to
Yes.
lose a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle. But when it hits that close to home where you are literally completely like your identity doesn't even exist anymore
Yeah.
because they're gone.
Yes, and it's so weird because you never thought it was dependent on them,
But
and
it
then
is.
when it's gone, it's like
What do I
oh, it
do?
took my breath away. Took my breath away. You're absolutely
I
right.
always I always describe it as like I was buried with him that
Yeah,
day.
I
And
believe
I
that.
create somebody completely new. Like I had another person ask me earlier today, would I be where I am today had my brother still been alive? And the answer is no.
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
yeah, and I
I
and
would
I
have.
I can tell you I totally understand. I get that.
Mhm.
And it's not wishing anything, right? It's not you're not
No,
saying, but it's
no.
recognizing that I wouldn't have gone there. Like, even with my mother-in-law's passing and
Mhm.
everything I went through, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now had I not gone through all that. I needed to go through all that. I did. I was very fortunate that I got that moment of clarity, and I'm so grateful for it. But I also recognize that was part of what I needed to also get to where I'm at now and do what I'm gonna do. So it's
Necessary.
yeah, it's a necessary evil, so to speak. But in the end,
Nec-
when you
Necessary, unfortunate, but necessary.
right, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Ruben, thank you so much for coming on here today. Like your story is, I didn't even know you were going to tell me that. I'm sure I've heard little bits and pieces here and there, but like you mind blown me for a second. Um, but give our audience one piece of, I don't know, advice or some words, wise words, or whatever you would say for someone who possibly might be stuck in that forest that some of us know very well and others of us have never even entered. But let's say they're lost in there. What would you tell them? What would you tell their families?
So I would say, well, to the families, I would say they're screaming in silence. And when I say screaming in silence, I mean they're showing subtle changes to let you know that something is happening to them, whether it's withdrawing or not being as involved in things. To them,
Mhm.
to us, we are screaming for help with that. That is our way of screaming for help without asking for help, because we don't want to ask for it, but we're trying to give tidbits to show that something is going on. So we're screaming in silence. And then, so watch out for those signs. If you're looking at family members, friends that you're close to, if you notice subtle changes, to them, that is drastic changes. So ask them if they're okay. To those that are suffering, say how you feel so that they can know how you feel. Because those subtle things that we do, to us, I know it's big gestures and it's a lot, and we think that we're screaming for help and we're asking for it the right way. But we need to say it. We need to say, it hurts. I'm hurting. I need help. And you're okay in exposing your feelings. It's a good thing to do that. I know it's scary, but it's a good thing to do that. And that's going to be the start on your path to healing.
I like that. I like that a lot because I think a lot of people, we forget and we assume maybe they know exactly what I'm feeling because I didn't reach out, or maybe like you can't assume that somebody knows exactly what you're thinking. And
Right.
you have to verbalize it, whether it's just like, hey, I need help, and just saying that, or like you said, I'm in pain, and just saying that, whatever it might be. But if we don't verbalize it and speak up, nobody knows.
Yeah. My wife had no idea till I told her. She knew there were changes happening. No idea where it was at till I told her. And when I told her I was at, she was shocked that where I was here and she thought withdrawing and I was really over here. So
Well,
that was something that helped me realize I got to tell her how I feel when I'm feeling it.
thank you so much, Ruben, for coming in and being a guest on
Yeah.
Untamed and Apologetic. I encourage more males that have seen this or have not seen it to jump on here with me, because y'all have a story too, and it should be said out loud and celebrated, because believe it or not, all of our failures, I don't even see them as failures anymore. I see them as learning opportunities, right? Every
Yes.
single failure is a
Yes.
learning opportunity. It is no longer a failure. So it's all in your perspective. And why not share with the world, because you could help somebody?
Yeah. Or even help yourself.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you
Yeah.
hopped on
You're
here.
welcome. And thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. See you next time on Untamed and Unapologetic.